Good morning and welcome to Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Julie. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on this Friday, November 10th, here at Purdue University in the basement of Cary Quad. This is WCCR Purdue Radio on the Tuned In app. You can listen live here for the next hour. We're going to talk about everything that has to do with sports. We're going to dive into college basketball starting off tonight. We got college football this weekend, and in my opinion, the best weekend of college football we've had yet as far as matchups in the top 25. A lot of playoff implications on the line, and we will also dive into how those different matchups play a role in where the top four will end up being, and I'll give you my opinion on that, plus my 5-star picks of the weekend. So we have all that in college basketball. College hoops also kicks off tonight. Exciting time to be a sports fan as you have both college basketball and football in full swing, right along with the NHL, NBA, and NFL. If you're a sports fan, you're busy, and it's a good kind of busy because you could spend your entire weekend just consuming multiple different sports and games. Not only that, but we're going to have our unsportsmanlike conduct for the week. I have 3 pretty good ones, in my opinion. A couple that have to do with sports and one that has nothing to do with sports. So those are usually some of the most fun that we have. If you have anything you want to add to the program, you can do that by messaging me on Twitter at Matt_Geely, or you can email me at nextptwins@gmail.com. If you guys go and check out my Facebook page, if you follow me on Snapchat, Matt_Geely, or on the Instagram story, I was live here before the show. Follow me on Instagram, Matt_Geely. Basically, if you want to follow me or find me, all the names are the same, Matt_GIGLI. Anyways, we were live on Instagram just about 15 minutes before the show. I had a little extra time, so I thought I'd give my followers a little bit of a pre-show meeting, maybe something that we'll try to incorporate every week as I'll go over some of the top topics of the show and different things that are going on for the show. If you missed it, go check that out. We talked about what's going to happen on the show today, and also big news, we got our next radio meeting here on Monday, and that's when we find out rankings for our show. So I look forward to seeing where we sit as far as towards the top. Hopefully, still keeping that number 1 spot. It's a U award. It's all about you guys. I appreciate everybody, all the 1.2K who listened last episode. That was our record high, and I give a lot of that credit to Brett Douglas. If you missed the interview with Brett, go check it out. It was 2 weeks ago. You can find it on YouTube or SoundCloud. Both spots will have that interview. Brett was amazing. Did a great job. We're definitely going to have him back whenever he has a chance to come back on. And I'll have another show announcement. We'll wait till later in the show. I just locked in our next guest. He'll be joining us next weekend, but I'm going to hold off on that. That's called a tease, everybody. Here in the radio business, we call that a tease, so it keeps you listening. So later on in the show, we will dive into who we have coming up next into the turntable. But today it's just me. Well, not just me. I got the brainy bunch in the back working hard. Dirty Randy and the boys are somewhere around here. They gave us that nice show open today. So we might have to wake up the band here later in the show and let them show off their skills a little bit more. I think we're about due to have Dirty Randy on the program. I don't know about you guys, but we hear his voice on That's a You Problem, one of our audio clips. If you're new to the program and you've never heard that clip, I'll play it for you right now. Here is Dirty Randy, and That's a You Problem.
Not my problem, your problem, your problem, not my problem.
There is the always talented Dirty Randy, and it is my problem that we haven't had Dirty Randy on the show yet. It's definitely a me problem. We got to make that happen because he deserves to. We'll talk about music with him, and he's also a big sports fan himself. So we're going to try to dial that in. If you're listening at home, Dirty Randy, if you want to bring the boys on as well, we can do that. But we're going to set some up here in the near future. So that's pretty much what we got today. I want to start off by talking about the NFL game that was last night. I didn't watch a single second of it, and that's a lie. I watched the last 50 seconds of the first half. And it wasn't because I didn't think it was a good game. I thought Seahawks-Cardinals was set up to be a very good game, and it ended up being very competitive, 22-16 final. I didn't watch it because my TV went out in my apartment, so I didn't get I only got the local stations last night. So I whipped it up on my computer after the Blackhawks game was over and watched a little bit, but I didn't get to catch much of it. I caught the highlights this morning, And I pretty much saw all I needed to see. Some of the major storylines out of the game. No doubt about it, the main storyline out of that happened after the game was Richard Sherman, starting cornerback for the Seahawks. He tore his Achilles during that game, and you could see him on TV mouth the words to, I think it was a teammate, "I just tore my Achilles," and we all hoped that wasn't the case, but unfortunately it absolutely is the case. So he will be out for the rest of the year. And if you're the NFL, I mean, can it get any worse for you? You've lost so many of your top personalities and stars in the game, and ratings are down, and there's multiple reasons because of that, and one of them absolutely is the fact that you can't have like a quality product on the field if you don't have quality players. You're losing big personalities. You're losing the Odell Beckhams. You're losing now Richard Sherman. You lose your stars. You're losing your Aaron Rodgers. Even Carson Palmer not playing last night. You had Drew Stanton there who played well, but it's just not the same. I mean, J.J. Watt, one of the most popular players in the NFL, is out for the year. Every week we're losing more and more really good players. And then on top of that, you lose the top rookie and the most exciting player, same team as J.J. Watt, Deshaun Watson. It's tough, and it's going to be it's tough to get ratings up when you have this happen. And now, well, you just lost another one of your top personalities as Ezekiel Elliott finally is suspended. Yes, after weeks of he's suspended, he's not, now he's suspended, now he's in the third judicial court, now he's in the second, now he's not in the court, now he's not suspended, he's suspended now. Well, we finally have an outcome. Ezekiel Elliott is going to be sat down for 6 games as his appeal at the Second U.S. Circuit Court was denied. So that's it for Zeke. He is going to have to sit out this Sunday, and look for Alfred Morris to get the start at running back for Dallas. And then number 2 on the depth chart is going to be Rod Smith, brother of Jalen Smith, the rookie, second-year rookie. He's definitely a rookie. He didn't play his first year due to injury coming out of Notre Dame in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Jalen Smith plays linebacker for the Cowboys. His brother Rod, who is now on the Cowboys, he's going to go in as the number 2 running back, and then it's going to be by committee, so they're also going to get Darren McFadden some carries. He'll be 3 on the depth chart. So you got Morris, who'll get the first shot at it, and then Smith, and then McFadden if needed, and whoever has the hot hand, I assume Jason Garrett and the Dallas Cowboys will go with. But this now sets up for Dak Prescott. You're in and out with Dez Bryant. You got Williams. You have a couple other decent wide receivers on the outside. He's going to have to make plays. You got Jason Witten at tight end, who he's going to look for that big target. But Cole Beasley, that's who I was trying to think of. Sneaky good. Sneaky. We'll call him sneaky quick because that's not referencing anything at all. But yeah, sneaky fast. He's a coach on the field. He's a field general. He's a leader. As Jerry Jones would say, he's a leader. He's first in, first out. Wait, no. First in, last out. Yeah, that's better. He really knows the film, studies the game. He's a student of the game, really. So they got him at slot. It's Dak Prescott's show now. You still have a pretty good offensive line. No longer the best offensive line in front of you, but a pretty good offensive line that's going to give you time, and you're going to have to start throwing the ball. And you have to hope that between Morris, Smith, and McFadden, somebody can take the pressure off the secondary and make them still crowd the box and give your wide receivers a chance to get open. Because if I'm different teams, I'm saying I'm gonna make Alfred Morris and Rod Smith beat me. I'm not gonna stack the box. If they can run the ball consistently, that's fine. But I'm going to take away Dak Prescott and make those running backs win and the offensive line win. It'll be interesting to see what happens. You're trying to catch the Eagles in the standings, and that's hard, but you still have 2 games left against them. You'd obviously would like to have Zeke for those games. And, if I'm Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett and the Dallas Cowboys, did this work out to my favor or against me? Let's say Zeke is suspended for the first 6 games of the year, like he was originally supposed to be suspended. So let me just pull up Dallas Cowboys schedule real quick. And I just kind of thought about this, but is it better that he's suspended now, or would they have preferred to have lost him? I know hindsight's 20/20, but which route is better suited for the Cowboys? You look at their season, they beat the Giants in week 1, 19-3. Is that a game at home you win without Zeke? Maybe. Then you get thumped by the Broncos on the road, 42-17. Okay, you're probably going to lose that one, so we'll go 1-1 without Zeke. Once again, this is all speculation. You might ask yourself, this is a waste of time, Matt. You have no idea how this team would be without Zeke Elliott. That's fine. I'm just curious. Let's look at the first 6 weeks. Then they played the Cardinals and beat them. That was on the road. That's a pretty good win. Then they lost to the Rams at home. That was a crazy loss. That was a loss that should never happened. Basically, it was like Zeke Elliott wasn't in the game because the Rams loaded the box and made Dak beat him, and Jason Garrett got away from the run game too early, and that's exactly what happened is Dak Prescott got beat. So he had no chance of trying to survive that. And then you lose at home to the Packers. That was back-to-back home losses, and the Packers game was close. Defense kind of gave it up late. Dallas gave Aaron Rodgers too much time. And then week 6 is a bye week, and then week 7, so if it's a 6-game suspension, week 7 would count, and that was a thumping of the Niners. So they played the Niners, the Packers, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Broncos, and the Giants. I see 1, 2, 3 wins without Zeke. How many wins do they have without Zeke right now? 3. But now you lose them for the next 6 games. And what that means is you would have had him for the beating of the Redskins, which they won. You would have had him for the beating of the Chiefs, which they won because they had him. Now this is where you're at. At the Falcons, that's this weekend, you don't get him. That's 1 game. Then you have the Eagles. Okay, so you could have got that Zeke Elliott suspension out of the way without even having to play the Eagles yet. But no, that's week 2, Eagles, and that is at home. Then you have the Chargers at home, not a sneaky good team, and a competitive team. That's game 3. Then you got the Redskins at home. Man, they play 3 in a row at home. Redskins at home. That's going to be a tough game without Zeke. Redskins they're not bad. And then you go to the Giants. That's game 5. And then to the Raiders, game 6. Giants game is winnable without him. Raiders game is going to be really tough without him, especially at Oakland. You get to think that they hold serve at home against the Redskins and the Chargers, but Eagles is a toss-up. So, I mean, you look at they played 2 games. Nope, not even. Yeah, they played 2 games with him against opponents in their division. That's it. They played the Giants once, and they played the Redskins once. Now you lose him, and you have 4 games left against division opponents. If I'm reading this right. See, I think that this works out. I think this works against them. I think they would have been better off. Now, I know if he really thinks he's innocent and fine, you have the right to. And people say, I'm sick and tired of hearing about this Ezekiel Elliott story. Well, I can agree with that because I understand how it could be annoying. But then on the other side of it, he has the right, like any other American or any other person in this country, they have the right to go to court and to fight for. I mean, they're innocent until proven guilty. So he felt like he needed to fight it, like he felt like he's innocent. So you can't be mad at the guy for going through all these appeal processes. I'm sure obviously a huge chunk of this has to do with staying on the field and wanting to play for the Cowboys. But there's another part of it that is, if he truly thinks he's innocent, he has every right to fight it like everyone else does. So I get that it's an annoying story, but it's a story that gets to happen because he deserves the right to go through this process. The process is in place for a reason, and he's taking advantage of it. Well, now he's suspended. So looking back on it, I get why he went to court, but as far as a Giants fan, as far as a Cowboys fan, and if you're Jerry Jones, you have to look at this and be like, man, this might have backfired because I think they would have been better off losing him for the first 6. I truly do. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe by committee they'll be good enough to be able to handle these next 6 games without him. Maybe Dak Prescott will be able to carry the load for the team, and if you keep Dez healthy and they can make plays and their defense shows up and plays, maybe they win some of these games. But I think that their schedule in the first 6 games were a lot easier than this upcoming stretch they have. I mean, Falcons, Eagles, Redskins, and Giants. None of those are cupcakes. Even the Giants I wouldn't consider a cupcake. But then again, by week 14, I mean, the Giants are already showing signs of mailing it in. So by then they might truly have it mailed in. But this is the hand that's now been dealt to Jason Garrett and Jerry Jones, and we'll have to see how they respond as a team to that. Back to the game last night, Seahawks 22, Cardinals 16. I mentioned Richard Sherman out with a torn Achilles for the season. Another interesting thought I had while watching the 50 seconds of this game that I watched was Larry Fitzgerald. I would say automatic Hall of Famer. I don't know if there's any question about that. He had 10 receptions for 113 yards last night. It's amazing how this guy continues to be effective at an older age. I mean, he's a player that he's quiet. He's a quiet player. He minds his own business. He reminds me a lot of Calvin Johnson when he played for the Lions. Just a guy who doesn't like to be. They do a lot of work around their city. Larry has done so much for Arizona as a whole, and it's amazing to see how guys like that just prefer to stay quiet and just mind their own business and get the job done. I mean, he was the leading receiver last night again for the Cardinals, and he had Sherman on him for most of the night with Cam Chancellor over the top. I mean, those are two of the best in the game on him, and he was still effective with Drew Stanton at quarterback, who I will say Stanton didn't play horrible last night, 24 for 47, 273 and a touchdown, no picks, got sacked twice. It's a rating of 75.9. That's not bad. And then on the other side, you have Russell Wilson, who had another Russell Wilson type game, 22 of 32, 238, 2 TDs, no picks, a 111 rating. So Russell Wilson, another one of those just sneaky great players, really. He talks about a lot of things, but I mean, I think he should still be considered underrated because he's efficient, but he's not flashy. On the field. Off the field, he's very flashy with Sierra and all of his personal life that he seems to like to share. But on the field, he's a pretty non-exciting player who gets the job done consistently. And as a team, though, I know I picked Seattle to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. I picked him to win over the Patriots. That takes a hard left turn now without Richard Sherman. It's going to be hard for the Seahawks to get back there. I don't think their offense is good enough. I thought that maybe they'll figure it out. I mean, they're definitely a playoff type team because of their defense. Defense wins playoff games. There's no doubt about it, especially if you can get some home games in Seattle. But with their record currently, they need some help. They need to keep winning some ball games. But that offense just hasn't clicked yet. And if it does, they're sneaky good, and they could be scary good. But now the defense gets a little thinner without Sherman, and they need their defense to carry them, and it's going to be a lot harder for them to do that. So there's my recap of the game last night. Couple good games this weekend, as I mentioned. Dallas at Atlanta. That's a sneaky good game. Atlanta needing to kind of wake up, I would say, following their Super Bowl loss last year. They kind of been going through the motions, which is fine. I saw this article. We'll stick on the NFL train. Let's see. I want to make sure I get credit to whoever. Dan Grazzano. He is an ESPN writer on ESPN.com. He did a story, and it's kind of a fun story. He took all 32 NFL teams, and he predicted who their quarterback would be in the year 2020. So that's thinking that Breeze and Brady are really old. Are they still there? And I was kind of just looking through. He categorized 3 sections. He had teams with no plan, teams with a plan, and then he did teams with a good plan. And teams with no plan was interesting. He took the Arizona Cardinals, who are going to be looking for a quarterback here in the upcoming draft, with Carson Palmer maybe done, maybe has another year left in him, but with this injury, it could be tough. But he says somehow he thinks the Cardinals will draft Lamar Jackson, but he predicts Blake Bortles to be their quarterback in 2020. Like, stuff like that's silly, and I get it, but it's interesting. Another team with no plan, Buffalo Bills. He thinks that Sam Bradford somehow becomes their quarterback. Right now they got Tyrod Taylor. Some people just don't believe in Tyrod Taylor, and he's doing okay. I don't know if he's not great, but he's serviceable. I would say that there's a chance that he could figure it out if he stays healthy. Another team with no plan, and this is no surprise to anyone, Cleveland Browns. They haven't had a plan forever. He puts... I mean, right now you have Deshaun Kaiser and Kevin Hogan, but I don't think neither of them are starting quarterbacks of the future, not even close, really. And he says the Browns take Georgia standout Jake Fromm with the first pick in that year's draft because they have the first pick because they're horrible, and he replaces probably Deshaun Kaiser. Interesting. That's a long way away. Another team with no plan, Denver Broncos. This is funny. He says the London Jaguars. That's probably going to happen. He thinks their 2020 QB is Jimmy Garoppolo. Interesting transition as Jimmy just got traded to the Niners. Chargers, no plan, and Dolphins, no plan. Teams with a plan. He still thinks that Joe Flacco will be the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens in 2020. I disagree with that. I think that Joe Flacco will be long gone by then. Joe Flacco, now the most overpaid quarterback in the NFL, getting the baton from Jay Cutler. In my opinion, Joe Flacco does not deserve the money he's getting paid. Bengals with the plan, Andy Dalton in 2020. Chiefs with the plan, Patrick Mahomes. I think Mahomes is going to be good. He's a rookie right now for the Chiefs. He'll take over for Alex Smith when Alex Smith moves on or is done. I think they have a good one there. I don't know if he's good enough to beat out Alex Smith, but he'll be good enough to take over when Smith gets traded or the contract is just too much or when Mahomes is ready. I think that Kansas City turns the page on the Alex Smith chapter and moves on to Patrick Mahomes. So I completely agree with that, and I think that's a good plan. I don't think it's a plan. I think it's a good plan. He thinks the Giants will draft Josh Rosen. That's the stud quarterback out of UCLA right now. I see it. Eli's time is probably close to up. He's going to go. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I know that's a big argument, but you beat Brady twice. I mean, that alone, 2 Super Bowls over Tom Brady. That alone should be enough to get you in the Hall of Fame. I know one of them, the Giants' defense deserves all the credit in the world for winning it, but I mean, you got to have a quarterback to make it. And Eli's had some good games, and he's had some horrible games. Another team with a plan, the Jets. He thinks that they draft USC's Sam Darnold in this year's draft, and he takes over as the starting QB in 2020. Let's move on. Teams with a good plan. Falcons still got Matt Ryan. Panthers still have Cam Newton. Bears have Mitchell Trubisky. That's right, the biscuit. That's a good plan. Cowboys with Dak. Lions will have Stafford. Packers, Rodgers. Texans, Watson. Colts, Andrew Luck. That's interesting. By 2020, you would think that Andrew Luck is healthy and ready to roll, but you just never know with shoulder injuries like that. Rams have Goff. Vikings back to Teddy Bridgewater. That's an interesting. I wouldn't call that a good plan. I'd call that a plan. It'd be interesting to see if he makes it back completely healthy and good to go by 2020. He should. I mean, he's practicing right now, and I hope for the best because that was a gruesome injury he had last year that knocked him out. And hopefully he can figure it out. And when I say figure it out, I mean get back on the field healthy. He thinks Tom Brady and Drew Brees will still be with the Patriots and Saints. I think Brady has a better chance than Brees to still be around in 2020. But I think that both have a legitimate shot. When you start getting up to, 45 years old, oh, man, I don't know. That's just old. Brees will be 41. Brady will be 43 at 2020. Brady has already said he wants to play till he's 45. You start getting into that range, and things change. Different bumps and bruises hurt more. It takes longer to recover from Sunday to Tuesday. It takes longer. It makes those Sunday to Thursday night game back-to-backers really hard, and I think it's tough to say that when you get up in that age, it's such a certainty that they'll be able to play. Just closing out the list, just for anybody who has their team that I haven't mentioned yet, teams with a good plan, Raiders with Carr, Eagles with Wentz, Niners, they have Kirk Cousins. It's interesting. Seahawks with Wilson, Buccaneers with Winston, and Titans with Mariota. I just thought that was an interesting article, and I wanted to share it with everybody. Maybe I'm the only one who found that interesting, but it's interesting to predict and to see. Every year, they call it the year of the quarterback in the draft, and every team's going for one. And while that might be true, a lot of times it doesn't work out quite the way everybody wants it to work out. So I guess this is something we'll just have to keep an eye on. So that's just a quick article I wanted to get into. It's 12:25 if you're just tuning in. This is Next Point Wins. I'm your host, Matthew Geely. Follow me on Twitter, Matt_Geely. Gmail, nextptwins@gmail.com. You can email me your questions, comments, or concerns. It was a bummer I couldn't have the show last week. It was a travel day as I headed home to watch my little brother play for the sectional title for his local high school, the Bishop Lures Knights in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They got the W, so they're back in action tonight. It's another home game, but I was unable to travel due to the basketball game tonight. Students, hopefully everybody's going to Mackey Arena to see Boiler Ball in action. First game of the regular season. You also have volleyball at Holloway's, a little back-to-backer. Volleyball starts at 5:30, so get over there and catch up on some Purdue sports. Football's on the road this weekend at Northwestern. We'll dive into keys to the game and reaction from last weekend's win against Illinois shortly. But yeah, I went home, watched little brother take care of business. Excited to be back here this week. Should be back-to-back shows next week. Looks like it's going to be good to go. And then we roll into about Thanksgiving, and before we know it, semester will be over. So it's been a good semester so far. I mentioned at the top of the hour, if you're just joining us, I got a special show announcement with our next guest lined up for next week. I will give that to you in a few minutes, so stay tuned in for that. If you're just joining the show, we talked about NFL mostly for the start. We went into Zeke Elliott. If you haven't seen yet, he's back to being suspended for the next 6 games of the year. Seahawks beat the Cardinals last night. And we did some recap of starting QBs in 2020, just having some fun. Let's move on to college basketball because it is back tonight. Boiler Ball in action. Kind of take a look at the Big Ten. Everybody you talk to, it's Michigan State's conference to lose, and probably rightfully so, bringing back the arguably, I don't even know if it's up for discussion. He's going to be let's put it this way. He is my prediction for player of the year in college basketball, Miles Bridges. And he's going to be tough to stop. And you have a Tom Izzo team. Anytime somebody comes into the Izzone at home, it's going to be hard to win. They always drop it's like almost to schedule. They drop one game, a non-conference game against a lousy opponent every year. They'll have one of those, and they'll lose a couple on the road, hopefully one of them being in Mackey. But they're going to be a good team, and it's theirs to lose. And then from then on, it's kind of up in the air. A lot of people have Purdue second in the standings for preseason predictions, and it'll be interesting to see how the Boilermakers shape up this year. I mean, you lose Caleb Swanigan, no doubt about that. He was a Big Ten Player of the Year, one of the better players in all of college basketball. Arguably should have won Player of the Year, but that didn't happen. This is a team that made it to the Sweet 16. You lose Biggie, you lose Spike, and not a whole lot much more. So you bring back Vince, Carson Edwards, Dakota Mathias, P.J. Thompson, Isaac Haas. Then you add in one of the better freshmen and probably a sneaky dark horse for freshman Big Ten Player of the Year, in my opinion, and Nojel Eastern. He's good, really good. He'll be fun to watch. He's a big point guard. He's really good with the ball. He'll make some freshman mistakes, throw the ball away every once in a while, but overall, I mean, he could be the real deal. So you have that to look forward to, and then you have other players like Matt Harms, who's going to join the Boilermakers for the first time. He was redshirted last year as he came over late. He's been getting beat up by a bunch of different teams in the sorry, I'm reading as I'm talking. I just read teams, so I said it out loud. He's been getting beaten up by Caleb Swanigan and Isaac Haas for the last year, so now he's ready to beat up on some opponents. I think he'll be a really, really good non-conference player. He'll get kind of pushed around a little bit in Big Ten play, but that's to be expected of a young kid. But he's a big kid, so he's defensively. What I saw in the exhibition game was he's defensively really, really good, and I'm sure the offensive game is there too. He can step back and shoot it from downtown, which is interesting from a 7'2" guy. And he's a little bit lankier than Haas. Haas has got some more mass, but Harms has been working hard and he's putting on some muscle. So I think he's going to be a really fun player to watch, along with Carson Edwards, who's going to be a scoring machine. That little ball of energy that's going to keep. He's kind of the spark plug of the team. He's going to keep us rolling. So it'll be exciting to see how that pays off. But yeah, Michigan State, you lose Aaron Harris and Alvin Ellis III, but you keep Bridges. You bring in Jaron Jackson, Xavier Tillman, and Schilling's back from injury. So, I mean, they're going to be the real deal, no doubt about it. But USA Today has Michigan State number 1, then Purdue, then Minnesota, then Northwestern, then Michigan, then Maryland, Wisconsin, Iowa, Ohio State, Illinois, Penn State, Indiana, Nebraska, Rutgers. Indiana's an interesting team. No more Tom Crean as Archie Miller takes over for the Hoosiers. While he was previously the coach at Dayton. He went 139-63. He made the NCAA tournament in his last 4 seasons. He's going to have Colin Hartman back for his 300th year, it seems, as he's coming back after the knee injury. He's also going to have Robert Johnson and Josh Newkirk. I think they're going to be an improved team defensively, no doubt about it. That's not really saying much coming from a Crean team, but definitely going to be better defensively. Big Ten's just so strong. They're going to win. They're going to beat somebody at home because they do every year. Somebody who's ranked higher than them. They're going to spoil somebody's record at home, but they're also going to lose a couple probably bad ones on the road. So I think this team makes it to the tournament. I think that it's close. Maybe they'll surprise some people. It's a new look team. It's a new look Indiana team, kind of getting back to their old ways, and we'll see how that works out for them. Michigan's a sneaky good team in my opinion. They got their guards are really, really good. They need to be better defensively. You still got Duncan Robbins and Xavier Simpson, and they're gonna. I mean, their senior guard Muhammad Ali Rahman. He's really good. He averaged 9 points last season, and between him and Robinson, they're gonna have to lead the way. That's a team that they're live and die from the 3. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get a little bit more of a post presence this year. They had a good run in the tournament last year and should continue to get better as the year goes on, and I can see them making another run in the Big Ten tournament and in the NCAA tournament. Look at the top 25 as a whole, and it's no surprise. You got Duke up there. You have Michigan State. You have teams like Kansas and Kentucky. As I pull up the official rankings, yeah, you got Duke number 1, Michigan State, Arizona. If you look at the AP, you got Kansas, Kentucky, Villanova. It's every year. These teams they're the top of the top 25. Wichita State coming in at 7 of the AP polls, interesting to me. West Virginia at 11, and as we heard from a recap of Purdue playing them in Cincy, a scrimmage, Boilermakers beat them by double digits. So that was a sneaky good win. I think that kind of opened some eyes to some people on what this Purdue team can really do. I know Coach Painter loves playing teams like West Virginia in exhibitions because they play such a different style than what Purdue plays and what Purdue practices with that full court press and the running up and down the floor. And I'm sure he was pleased to see the response his players gave him, and just adds to the excitement for this year. Big Ten teams in the top 25. You had Michigan State at 2. You have Minnesota at 15. Northwestern at 19. Purdue comes in at 20. So those are your teams ranked as far as top 25. Interesting that both Minnesota and Northwestern are ahead of Purdue. We'll see how that shakes out by the end of the year. Northwestern's a sneaky good team. They were one of the best stories in college basketball last year, making the tournament, and Minnesota had a good year as well. So, Big Ten has a lot of good teams and one great team in Michigan State, and it'll be interesting to see if any of these good teams, your Purdue's, Northwesterns, Minnesota's, Michigans, and I would even throw in the Wisconsin maybe, because they're always, tough to beat at their place. Can any of these good teams challenge the great team Michigan State for that Big Ten title? It'll be interesting to see. So college hoops this weekend, but college hoops starting tonight, and then you have college football starting back this weekend, Saturday. The slate of games on Saturday, fantastic. I don't have plans for this Saturday, and thank goodness, because my plans are now sit in front of 2-3 screens and just get as much college football as I possibly can. You look at some of these games, and I'll give you my starting 5 picks here in a moment, but I'm going to look at some of the games outside of my starting 5. That way, I don't spoil anything, but I couldn't just pick 5. It was hard. I've never had this much trouble picking 5 games to be my starting 5 picks of the week because you got, first off, let's start tonight. You got Washington at Stanford. So if you're not looking for any college hoops or you're not ready for that yet, that's fine. If you are looking for college hoops, though, game to watch 6 p.m. Texas A&M at West Virginia. 6 p.m. on ESPN. That's a game that you definitely want to see. That's probably the biggest game on the ticket tonight. A lot of the top teams are playing at home against smaller opponents, but that's the one ranked matchup for the night. But yeah, you got Washington at Stanford. Stanford, sneaky good team, especially at home. A team that Notre Dame is going to be needing to beat here in the upcoming weeks. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Let's see here. Make sure I don't say any. Arkansas at LSU, sneaky good game. Arkansas is not bad. LSU gave Alabama an okay effort. I've seen worse out of teams going against Alabama. Danny Etling, the quarterback for the Tigers of LSU. You got the Battle of the Techs, Virginia Tech at Georgia Tech. You can always sign me up for Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. You got Josh Jackson, quarterback for Virginia Tech. He's going to be one of the players to watch. And then on the other side for Georgia Tech, Taquan Marshall, running back. They run that wing triple option, which is always fun to play with on different video games, and it's even more fun to watch on TV. Florida State at Clemson. Should be a game Clemson gets with ease. I'm sure at the beginning of the year this was highlighted as one of the top games for the weekend, but Florida State's had a tough time after losing their starting quarterback, only 3-5 overall. So that's a game at home Clemson should get with ease. But still a great game. And I looked down this list. I didn't even get to pick this one. This isn't even one of my starting 5 picks, and it's number 20 Iowa at number 8 Wisconsin. Probably Wisconsin's toughest game left until the Big Ten championship game. They sit at number 8 in the poll, and everybody's mad if you're a Badger fan, and for the Big Ten mostly, that you're not higher. Well, here's your chance to prove yourself. It's not going to be enough to get you in the top 4 by winning this weekend at home, but it sets you up to have an opportunity to play in that Big Ten championship game, and that's a game you must win if you want to get in, because a one-loss Wisconsin team is not going to be enough. And don't be surprised if an undefeated Wisconsin team stays outside the top 4 as well if other things fall a certain way. That will really anger a lot of people, but Wisconsin is the Big Ten's best chance at making the playoff at the moment, unless something crazy happens, and it's possible. It's definitely possible because there's a lot of teams in the top 4 this weekend and in upcoming weeks who have sneaky tough games. Another game, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, Washington State at Utah. Washington State is an exciting team to watch. They put a lot of points on the board, and Utah's always tough at home. So Purdue's at Northwestern. Boilermakers travel up to Evanston, Illinois for that one. That's a 7:30 start. It's a 7 o'clock start Eastern on ESPN2. I might go up for that game tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. It's going to be cold. We'll see if that happens or not. Maybe there's a chance a couple of us interns in the athletic communications office are going to make the road trip up there. I'm iffy on it at the moment, so we'll see. But Boilermakers coming off a big win. I say big win. It was a must-win against Illinois. Fighting Illini didn't put up all that much of a fight in the game. Biggest storyline coming out of that game was starting quarterback David Blau out with a lower body leg injury. Tough loss. Really a crazy competitor. Great human being. One of the better student athletes to represent this school. And you hate it when the good guys get hurt, and he's one of the really, really good guys. So obviously everybody's thinking about David Blau and hoping for a speedy recovery. The reins get handed over to Elijah Sindelar, and if you're Coach Brom, you're looking back at that 2-quarterback system you ran at the beginning of the year, and you're probably very thankful for it, unfortunately under unfortunate circumstances. But, Sindelar's had some big game moments, and he's had some opportunities, so he's not coming in cold turkey. And he's got to lead this team down the stretch. It's a must-win game if you're trying to make it to the bowl, because you got this one at Northwestern, and then you go to Iowa, which is going to be tough, and then you're home against IU. So you need to win 2 out of these last 3, and I would say your best chances are this weekend and then IU. It'd be exciting if we could go into that Saturday at home that Thanksgiving weekend against IU with a chance to go bowling. Hopefully that can happen. A couple players to watch for Northwestern. You got Clayton Thorson, their quarterback. He's had a great year. Justin Jackson, the running back. He's their star player. He's their key. If you can stop him and make Northwestern beat you in the air, you have a chance. And then if they're going to throw it in the air, a lot of times they throw it in the direction of Ben Skoranek, another Fort Wayne kid. Went to Homestead. He's one of their leading receivers on the year. So right now, Northwestern favored by 4.5 in that game. It's going to be an interesting one. It should be chilly night game, and no doubt I expect the Boilermakers to come out with a lot of emotion, a lot of passion. I guarantee you this one's going to be one of those win it for David, because he means a lot to that team, and he's one of the biggest leaders in that locker room. So hopefully they can come out with a lot of energy, a lot of passion, get up for this night game, and hopefully that carries them to a win. We'll have full recap next week after the game is over on that one. All right. Those are all the games that I did not pick that I wanted to mention, and if you would have just given me those games and nothing else, I would have been like, this is a pretty good weekend of college football. But then we get into the starting 5, which are 5 crazy good games. First off, we're going to start with number 15, Oklahoma State, at number 21, Iowa State. Big 12 is a tight race at the moment. Both these teams desperately needing a win to stay alive in the hunt. And Iowa State's knocked off. We thought they were just a team that knocked off big opponents, but we're starting to find out they're a good football team after beating Oklahoma at home. And they have some quality wins on their ticket. I think Oklahoma State gets the win on the road. Iowa State's due for an L at home. Oklahoma State gets the win and stays in that hunt with Oklahoma for the Big 12. Also, next up, Big 10 action. Number 12, Michigan State at number 13, Ohio State. Michigan State, one of the most surprising teams in the Big Ten this year. Mark D'Antonio has that team playing extremely well, better than anybody could have thought. And then you have Ohio State, heads back home after getting thumped by Iowa, and I mean thumped by Iowa. Get the brakes beaten off them, really. They're back home now, and it's a redemption game for the Buckeyes. I look for them to get the win, and I don't know if it's even going to be close. I think Ohio State blows them out, to be honest. So Ohio State over Michigan State. Next up, the number 1 team in the nation, the Georgia Bulldogs. Sneaky tough game as they travel to number 10 Auburn. Auburn, one of those teams kind of flying under the radar. Really good team. Not getting the credit they deserve. They're up to 10 in the They're up to 10 in the poll at the moment. So definitely a chance for Georgia to get knocked off. Auburn 7-2, 5-1 in the SEC. Georgia 9-0, of course, 6-0 in the SEC. And it's going to be that dual-headed rushing attack of Nick Chubbs for the Bulldogs. And why am I blanking on this man's name right now? Running back, I should not. Michael, there it is. Sony, there he is. All right, so two-headed monster of Georgia in the running back department. They're going to have to establish the run game early and often because Auburn likes to put points on the board. I think Georgia wins it on the road at Auburn and keeps the undefeated streak alive. I want to see Georgia, Alabama in that SEC title game, and I want to see what happens when one of them loses. Obviously, they're playing each other. I want to see what that does to the rankings and where we're at that point in the year. So in order for that to happen, Georgia, you got to get this win at Auburn, one of your tougher games until the SEC championship game. So Georgia, you get the W. Next up, number 4 on my starting 5 picks of the weekend. Another Big 12 matchup against two teams who are at the top of the standings, and that's number 6 TCU at number 5 Oklahoma. Not very often you get this type of matchup. Two teams in the Big 12 within the top 10 of the rankings. TCU at 8-1, they're 5-1 in the Big 12. Then you have Oklahoma at 8-1, 5-1 in the Big 12. Something's got to give, and that giving is going to be Oklahoma, led by All-Bro first-teamer Baker Mayfield. The Sooners get the win over the Horned Frogs, and they win by 8 points. Oklahoma by 8. They beat TCU, and they continue their push to get back into that top 4 of the BCS standings. Just sitting outside at number 5. And I think they do get into the top because my last game, number 3 Notre Dame versus number 7 Miami. Irish continue this incredible run they're on after losing the home game against Georgia, knocking off quality opponent after quality opponent. One of their tougher games on the schedule because they're on the road at Miami. The Hurricanes in hurricane form. I know there's going to be plenty of talk, and I'm sure there's going to be some T-shirts around from that old Catholics versus convicts game. All that stuff starts to resurface as these two square off. Miami 8-0, Notre Dame 8-1. Definitely the best team Miami has faced thus far, and being at home, I think they beat them. I'm going to take the Hurricanes to beat the Irish. That knocks Notre Dame out of the top 4, giving Oklahoma a nice little boost up into the top 4 at the end of the weekend. So my final pick of the day is number 7 Miami, knocking off number 3 Notre Dame. Notre Dame, prove me wrong once again. I've picked against you more weeks than I've picked for you. I did pick on your side the last time we did this, and you won, obviously. But I think that you're due for a loss. This is a tough one, and then you have at Stanford, another tough game. But if you can get through the rest of the schedule unscathed, you 100% deserve to be in the top 4, and you'll probably be 3. You'll probably stick at 3 and then jump to 2, depending on the Alabama, Georgia outcome. But I mean, you've played a tough schedule. Even though you're not in a conference, you can't deny that they've played a really tough schedule, and so far they've been able to compete and win games. But I think that comes to an end, and it comes to an end this weekend. So there are my starting 5 picks of the weekend. Man, 13 minutes left in the show. Things are flying by, so let's get to unsportsmanlike conduct. We're just going to go one to the other here, as just time is getting away from me. So much fun. We're having a good time. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a great time. Unsportsmanlike conduct, here we go.
And now, on unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15, unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's a horrible call!
Unsportsmanlike conduct, I have 3 for you today. Let's start in the world of sports with the worldwide leader of sports, ESPN. There's reports out now saying that they are going to have to lay off 100+ jobs once again. They just did a big layoff at the beginning of the year, and now they're going to have to do it again. This one coming right around Thanksgiving. Nothing says Thanksgiving like you're fired. Tough situation. Definitely not in the holiday spirit. It will be sad to see. It will be interesting to see who has to go. But I just got to reiterate what I said way back when this first started happening. ESPN is in a little bit of trouble at the moment because they are paying a crazy amount of money to get Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Baseball, these primetime college football games, these primetime college basketball games. And as the years go on and you're having to put forth the money you're losing money, and the only way to compensate for that is letting people go. So never want to see anybody lose their job. Hopefully hopefully something works out. But unsportsmanlike conduct to the whole situation at the worldwide leader, and it just reiterates my thought that while ESPN is a great company and they're going to figure out a way to fix this, they need to mix it up. They got to do something new, and that's what they're trying to do. But they are no longer the worldwide leader in sports, and that's blatantly obvious. So unsportsmanlike conduct to that situation. Number 2, and this one I'm very passionate about. Normally, my best unsportsmanlike conducts I've been told are the ones where I really believe in what I'm saying. And this one really hits home to me. I don't know how many of you are country music fans out there, but we're in Indiana, so it's weird. You get the general feel of the crowd around campus, and you either like country music or you absolutely hate it. There's no in between. Well, for all of you who like it, who watch the CMA Awards on Wednesday night, that's the Country Music Awards, for anybody who doesn't get the abbreviation. The CMA Awards were on, and it's like every other music award show, so that's how I can relate to people who didn't see it and who do not like country music. You always have your awards and your nominees, and then you always have live performances from some of the best artists in that genre of the year. Well, this has been bothering me for a long time, and I think it's about time we call them out. every show that does this, the same thing happens. You have somebody up on stage performing, singing one of their, no doubt about it, their most popular song of the year, because that's why they're getting able to perform, is because they had a song that was super popular that people liked, so they get to show it off on the stage. This happens, and then they start doing camera shots of other musicians in that genre in the crowd, and you have to, if you're one of those, it's very fake and it's tired, but it has to happen. You have to stand up and act like that you're the biggest fan of the song and the person, because everybody's trying to play along and be nice, and everybody's having a good time, whatever. Well, what's starting to bother me, and what I actually find it pretty funny, is they do these camera shots of these artists in the crowd, and some of them are trying to sing along to the song, but they're mouthing the wrong words, or like they're smiling and they're all swaying back and forth and clapping and whatever they need to do, and then like they'll wait till they know a part and then they'll sing it and then they'll stop. If you're a music and you're a country music singer, do you not listen to, I wonder if they just don't like listening to country music aside from what they're producing? Because I can understand where if you're doing it all day long, every day, cutting tracks and recording music, it can get old. And I can understand if you would want to, on your own time, in your leisure time, listen to something else or not listen to music at all. I kind of get that. But then another part of me is like, if you guys are all buddy-buddy with each other and you love each other's songs, and some of you guys even do duets about songs, are you learning the song before you go up and perform it with somebody? Because I mean, I would say 90% of the people who were shown during that award show, they were singing along to the wrong words. They were not singing at all. They were smiling. But if you're going to act like that it's the greatest song ever and you love this person, like they all acted like I do when I'm at a concert with my favorite artist and I know every word to every song and I'm just having a great time. That's how they all look, and I get it because it's nice and it's playful and it works out for everybody. But if that's not how you truly feel, don't mouth the words, because you look really dumb when you're singing the wrong lyrics, and it's kind of cringeworthy, really. And there was even a couple, like they did a Garth Brooks. He's one of the most famous country singers of all time. He's been around forever, and they did a tribute to him, and they played one of his most famous songs. And the amount of people that were shown in the crowd who were trying to sing along that didn't know the words amazed me. I mean, he's one of the legends. He's one of the greats, and you don't know his words to his songs, or even like an idea to where you can like at least be close. Cringeworthy. Unsportsmanlike conduct to country music stars who don't know country music but act like that they're buddy-buddy with these people. If you don't know the song, I think we need that one guy who, like, if he doesn't like the artist or he doesn't like the song, like, you don't have to like everything that everybody puts out. Am I allowed to just sit there and just like enjoy it and be happy for the guy, but not like be up waving my hands in the air and looking up to the sky and singing along like it's just the greatest performer and the greatest song I've ever heard, when I really don't even know the words of the song and I don't really know the song at all? We need that one outlaw country music singer, and singers in general, artists in general at these award shows, who, if I like the song, I will stand up and sing along and act like I'm at my favorite musician's concert. But if I don't, I'm just going to sit there and mind my own business. Because I think the first time a camera shoots somebody like that, it's going to blow up. It's going to be hilarious. It's not going to go over well for that person, but I think it needs to happen. Let's be a little bit more open and honest about how we feel about our co-workers in the industry. Unsportsmanlike conduct to country music singers in general, and especially musicians around the world who are fake. It's not allowed. It's not good. Really bothered me. Also, just real quick, I know we're running out of time, but everybody, I'm sure I'm not the only one who does this for an award show, but they always say the nominees and they play the song, and I always guess before it's announced because I want to try to guess it right, and then when I'm wrong, which happens a lot because a lot of my favorite songs and musicians don't win things. I don't know why that's the case. Maybe I just have a weird taste in music, but I'm wrong more than I'm right, and when I'm wrong, I get really angry for like 3 seconds, and then I'm like, okay, moving on. Like it matters at all, when it doesn't matter one bit. Who wins these awards? They all think the same people, and the fans and whatever. It's kind of a tired thing. I think it's just a way to get the genre as a whole, the brand out. And I mean, they're entertaining. I'll keep watching the shows, but it in the grand scheme of things, it means nothing to anything. But I always get super fired up when I guess wrong, And I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who does that, but I find it funny. Okay, last but not least, last unsportsmanlike conduct of the weekend, and we're going to close out the show with this one as well. O.J. Simpson, he just got thrown out of a Vegas casino, and he's been banned from ever going back to the Jeez, that's not even a hard word. The Cosmopolitan Hotel Casino in Las Vegas. Whew, okay. He got thrown out. He was belligerently drunk, swaying back and forth, couldn't really put a sentence together. Not a good look for OJ. And, this guy just needs to mind his own business. Just lay low. Just stay quiet. Stay out of... He's a press-seeking attention junkie. He just loves the attention and he craves it, and it's like a drug to him. He's got to have it, and it just continues to give him a bad look. I'm just not a fan. I'm just really not a fan of OJ, and don't make a scene and get thrown out of a casino for being drunk and belligerent. Of course, his attorney's denying it all ever happened, and I'm sure they'll put on a glove or something to prove he didn't do it. I'm sorry, that was not a very good joke. But it's true. I mean, just lay low. Stay out of the news. Please, try. Those are my 3 unsportsmanlike conducts of the weekend. Just a couple minutes left in the show. I want to just touch on one more thing. Dan Patrick, my idol, my all-time favorite, the guy who has inspired me to pursue this career. He was on a podcast the other day on The Big Lead, and he's discussing a new university that Dan Patrick is going to start for sports broadcasters, and it's going to be called the Dan Patrick School of Sports Broadcasting, and it's going to launch in early 2018. This is fantastic. Dan did a good job on the podcast of going over what to expect, and it's going to be a way for students to learn the new era of broadcasting, which is video journalism and social media and getting stories out and combining video, audio, reporting all into one, thanks to these cell phones and these social media platforms that we're given now. And he's hoping to kind of make this school attractive for students who are going to go into journalism school, who instead learned from, I'm sure he'll have a lot of help from a lot of his friends like Rich Eisen and guys like Bob Costas and Al Michaels. I mean, some of the legends, some of the greatest to ever do it will be there helping these students, and I think it's great for the industry. I'm jealous that it wasn't around when I started, because I would have totally looked into doing it. I'm sure we'll hear more information as we get closer to the launch date for this new school. But I think it's a really good thing that Dan Patrick's going to do to give back. And his radio show is right before ours. It's from 9 to 12 on Audience Channel 239. And he's also on the Dan Patrick Show app. You can listen to the podcast or listen live there. So his show's on every day, Monday through Friday. I listen to it every day, all 3 hours, because it's fantastic. They do a great job. He and the Danettes are great. All right, let me make sure I got everything covered before we wrap up here. Looking good. All right, great. So just going to drop in. James Harden beat the Cavs last night. He had a triple-double, playing well. I think it's too early in the year to really get excited about anything NBA or NHL. Nothing really matters at this point. Definitely more exciting with the start of college basketball, because it's fresh and new, and then college football in full swing. So watch a lot of games this weekend. Make sure to do some light stretching and jogging in place during commercials. You don't want to cramp up. Keep the blood flowing. Make sure you have plenty of snacks, plenty of refreshments. Know the right time to take a bathroom break. Know when, like right after a touchdown is a great moment, because you got the extra point, you got a commercial, you got the kickoff, and you got a commercial. So you got plenty of time there to refresh on snacks, use the restroom, get resituated, get a little bit of light stretching in. Whatever you need to do, just pick your right times, because you don't want to miss a big play, and that's a nightmare of everybody's. This has been Next Point Wins. Once again, last but not least, show announcement. We have a interview next week with Daniel Goldberg. He's a student here at Purdue University. He's a former employee of the Washington Redskins. He worked with the Redskins over the summer doing training camp with them. So we'll talk about Ryan Kerrigan, a former Purdue player who's now playing for Washington. We'll talk about everything that there is to know about the NFL and training camp, and we even throw in some fun questions about Purdue sports. So join us next week as Daniel Goldberg joins us in the turntable. This has been Next Point Wins. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next week. We're going to take a little bit of a break here, and we'll see you next Friday at noon on WCCR Purdue. If you missed any part of the show, go to YouTube, the Tuned In app, for live, YouTube for podcasts, also on SoundCloud. I'll have links posted on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. So go look for links there, or just subscribe to Next Point Wins on YouTube. You can catch up on any old episodes that you've missed. If you want to go back and relive some of our greatest moments together, feel free, reminisce with me, send me some emails. We look forward to doing it next week. On behalf of the Brainy Bunch, Dirty Randy and the boys, and myself, this has been Next Point Wins. Have a great weekend. Happy Friday. Good luck tonight, Knights. Let's win it in the trenches. Let's win it in the trenches. We need it, all right? Chasing 12. Go get it.